Rahubat Moisar, and welcome to another live reading. Our scroll for today will be Patarak, Diagnosis of the Races. Our course of action today, we're going to acknowledge our master teacher who brings us all together in this divine circle of healing as we all work on ourselves to be our best selves, each and every one of us, in our big collective circle of healing. We're going to take some moment to do some breathing exercises, acknowledging ourselves and each other, and get right into our reading. All right, so let's just all start by either sitting up or standing. All right, and if you have to lay down, you can lay down as well um, on your back, and you could do breathing exercises on your back too. And you're just going to acknowledge Panadaru. Acknowledging Panadaru, you acknowledge Panadaru's design, how you put together your anatomy, your big diaphragm, which is a muscle that separates your rib cage from the lower your lower extremities. So that when we breathe in deeply, our diaphragm descends downward. Our stomach goes out a little bit. And then it acts like a vacuum pulling air into our lungs. All right? It pulls air into our lungs. As we keep inhaling, it's pulling it outwards. So it's down, out, and up. And then you breathe out. So what we just did was the all expanding. So we're going to say, Atapa taruk, la yerawuk, em yanun. Atapa babab la yehu. Open the way to the soul of Yanun. Open the door towards him. Rawuk, soul. Soul being not just the ba is the emotional seat. The Rawuk is the breath of life. So we're saying open the breath of life to Yanun, the consciousness of Yanun. Patah, your third eye. Patah. We say Baror, Baror, Baror. Nabab, Nadab, Mukdar. Now it's Mukdar, Baded, Patah. Now it's Muklas, Baded, Yanun. And it says, Holy, 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 Almighty Nadar. No deity except Patah, no savior except Yanun. Think of that with your very breath. Patah and your miftah, which sits right above your nose. You're talking about your third eye. So now you see where they get that from us, those secret societies they took from us. They're talking about the breath of life when you see a triangle with the eye over it. You're talking about that sacred breath, all right? And it's something as simple as breathing, because did you know that breathing itself is a prayer, all right? So you're opening the door, all right? Because Ashuk is the key, and it's our hearts that's the lock, all right? So when Baba was greeted by Yanun, 25 years old, he was nervous, and there was so much wisdom that Yanun wanted to impart on the personage of Malachi York. Remember what Yanun said to Baba? He said to Baba to relax, open your chest, and let me sit in there. All right. And then he said, relax. And whenever you need, whatever you need access to, just relax and you'll be able to get to that. That you do that through your breath, because anything that Baba has asked us to do, he has done already. All right. So now we know the power of the all expanding breath. So stand with your hands side by side. You're going to put yourself back into the natural nature design, because we have been affected, the hearts, minds, souls of the people, through the various mixing, all right? The things that we have partaked in through our life, which we're going to learn about in the scroll we read today. Things has happened to us and the consciousness has shifted. All right. Some of us, we lean, things are out of alignment. Baba says it's alignment time. You got to do that with your own genetics. Start with your breath. So when you breathe in, you feel your spine straighten up. You feel the flow of energy go everywhere into your being. You're going to be all conscious. All right. Charge all the parts of your body. Hold the breath for a moment because that's you absorbing the life force. And breathe out. All right. That's the basic smile. All right. I would say, in my opinion, there's so many great scrolls. By far, the breath book is in every scroll that I've ever read. Every scroll I could think of the breath book. All right. From the very Ashuk is our highest priority. I think of the potential scroll. If I'm breathing improperly, I'm impeding on my potential. All right. And you're only going to get but so far in your consciousness. And then I see the whole sign of Patah. All right. You have to open yourself to your potential. All right. So you see what's being called upon for us to respond. It's our responsibility to respond. All right. So the three breaths that Baba says to help us is the nerve revitalizing breath, the cleansing breath, and the vocal breath. The vocal breath is very, very key because we're taking our stories back. We're going to tell our own stories. All right. No one's going to speak for us anymore. All right. We're being empowered as Baba came to set the whole record straight, set the whole record straight. And one people, one voice. So the vocal breath, we're taking our tones back. All right. And I was listening to myself over the years and it hit me this past couple months. I've actually pulled the soul into my being. All right. I could tell by my voice. If you listen, because everything that we've ever done in this group has been recorded. So if you ever want to go back and just see the progress through space and time and activation, you could see it. In my case, listen to how I sound in the first video and listen to how I sound now. There's a certain resonance that wasn't there before. All right. And I would say I was born with it, but things has happened through the journey. And then you could see certain energy leaving the voice and it's coming back. All right. So this is the power of practicing and living and transforming into living and breathing doctrine. We're expected to embody it. We're not just memorizing so we can sound deep. We should see it active in our lives. So we're going to charge up our nervous system. The nervous system, that's our emotional body, very important for sending and receiving signals interpersonally, from person to person, and inside, intercellularly in your own body. All right. That's the nerve force. Baba is our transmitter. That's what Baba's doing. He's tapping in. All right. And you want to start that now with your nervous system, because we know that the seat of the emotions, that's the Ba, the soul. And now we know that the nervous system is the seat of the emotional body. All right, so let's do these exercises together. Now we know the importance of all of them. And then finally, the cleansing breath. So I mentioned two, that last one, cleansing breath, very important. The cleansing breath, because you know that you could just hear what it's doing. It's ventilating and recharging and renewing the cells. So it all starts with the breath of life. All right. And then I like to do the exercise number 6. All right. So we're just going to do these exercises together. All right. And I'll tell you when I go from exercise to exercise. So what you have to do is stretch every day, because what happens is when we don't move, everything becomes stagnated and we become stiff, and then um, we don't get along with each other. Somebody's talking to you, you're not getting the message the way that it's being communicated. A very important spot is the emotions and the apostates. But we know that physical, spiritual, and mental body is all connected. All right. So if your body is off, you have to heal it. And then this my breath has helped me connect my movements to my breath. So for example, I'm gonna take a deep breath in here and then stretch out on the exhale, because you'll notice that you're able to stretch further when you breathe out. So exercise number 6 is also from the breath book, and it's one of the minor exercises. You're going to verbally acknowledge our Nadar Sabab. Sabab, Tawatak, Nadar Sabab. Sabab being the solid, like earth, Geb, Geb. And you're going to acknowledge the rising and the setting, because you're going to acknowledge matter, space, and time. So when you start to materialize, you're going to notice the sun rise and the sunset, or the appearance of that, through your perspective as Sabab, Geb. So you're activating Sabab consciousness. So as you acknowledge Nadab Sabab, take a deep breath and you bow, exhale out, and then you rise up. Imagine yourself through that acknowledgement that you are Sabab. And you're going to acknowledge your good times and your bad times. What you like, what you don't like. Your attractions and your repulsions, all the movements of life. And you're going to realize, as you become more acceptance of yourself, you accept life as it is and in many parts. And it all plays its part. All right? Because it's all useful. Pa-pa-ut. And then you're going to think, Adoy Kalau, Tapalorat, Wufa Por, Bisa Mus, Pa-pa-ut. Begin all prayers and thinking by using the all expanding. Tawakum or Tawatak, Nadar Sabab. All right, and always take a moment after the exercise so you can feel yourself aligning. That's exercise number 6. Now we're ready to do the nerve vitalizing breath. All right, so read the breath book. All right, we go over it every reading that we do. Sometimes I skip on explaining, but read the breath book. It's very important to opening the other scrolls up. because you're going to make the scrolls practical. Practical meaning to put into practice. That's the nerve revitalizer breath, followed by the cleansing breath. All right. That exercise, I feel the tingling right now through the center of my head and my arms. Actually, under my arms, I can feel my lymphatic system opening up too. So now, allow the exercise to do what it does. And now you're going to do your vocal breath. And those exercises you should do every day. Do those exercises every day. All right. So now we're going to get together and acknowledge our master teacher, because everything I shared, I have compiled from what I've read from Baba Yanun, and then also from what I've seen in life play out. So we're going to acknowledge our master teacher, Baba Yanun, living, breathing, flesh and blood like us, from us, sent to us, by us, for us, our very own Baba Yanun, one of us who sits as an example, as our Zeddy. This is why we all come together, because he's the nucleus, our Zeddy, that brings us together. And while we acknowledge our master teacher, we're acknowledging ourselves. And as we acknowledge ourselves, we're acknowledging each other. Because what you want for yourself, you also want for your brother and sister. So when you breathe in through your smile breath, you're going to tap in to the guidance, healing, protection, and wisdom of Panatharu, natural nature. Breathe in that wisdom and love. And exhale that same wisdom, love, guidance, and healing to your fellow brothers and sisters. That's the proper way to breathe. Adoy kalal ta palorat, wu fa kud, bi samus, ha paut. Begin all prayers and thinking by using the all expanding. Ha takud. Anuki jaweth pa ashuk em pa paut. Wu kalala shuka wun jaweth niya. Anuki kasamun em pa paut. Wu pa paut kawun kasamun em niya. Anuki wahu ame pa paut. Wu pa paut kawun wahu ame niya. Nakuk kadod naja ame kasam em pa paut. Wu kabu ame mushkas. Wu pa paut kawun wahu ame niya. Naku kadod naja ame kasam em pa paut. Wu kabu ame mushkas. 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 Nakuk Kado Kawan Kalal Pafef Nakuk Ayo Jawef Papahut Ame Wase Ame Ayani Kawun Lake Bakoy Jawef Papahut Anuki Yabed Biye Nafashni Papahut Kawun Anuki Papahut Kador Nakuk Kador Papahut Amor Nakuk Amor. I can be all that I wish in the all expanding as long as my wish is to stay in the all expanding. The all is I am. This chant is for them, from us, because they are me and I am them. Listen to us, O our overseers, natural nature. Accept us. We are your children. Accept us. Accept us. Lahehun manehnun antum afe karerhun antum afe karerkun antum afe karednun antum afe jewef niyah Antum Athed Niyahu Anukihu Yaye Ashukreye Ashmu Jayenu Yaye Nataru Aufuknu Nahun Ater Mukrarukun Yaye Nataru Aufuknu 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 Yaye Natarunu Anu Atu Atu Amu. I am them and they are me. Who are they? From birth to pre-birth to before, space and time, to all the movements of space and time, to the rising, settings, highs and lows. Who are they? The very forces of nature. We're going to acknowledge our overseers, Natarunu. Natarunu. Yaye Muftaru. Yaye Nataru. Yaye Atum Reye. Yaye Natar. Yaye Nun. Yaye Natar. Yaye Nun Tat. Yaye Natar Tat. Yaye Ha. Yaye Natar. Yaye Hatat. Yaye Natar Tat. Yaye Kak. Yaye Natar. Yaye Katat. Yaye Natar Tat. Yaye Amun. Yaye Natar. Yaye Amun Tat. Yaye Natar Tat. Yaye Mufkamia. Yaye Nataru. Yaye Amun. Yaye Natar. Yaye Shashash. Yaye Natar. Yaye Tafaf Natat. Yaye Natar Tat. Yaye Sabab. Yaye Natar. Yaye Nutat. Yaye Natar Tat. Ya ye ashastat ya ye notortat. Ya ye asar ya ye notar. Ya ye nababtat hatat ya ye notartat. Ya ye satak ya ye notar. Ya ye harar ya ye notar. Nadaru shalil ha maye. Ya ye hatwi ya ye notar. Ya ye anaktat ya ye notartat. Ya ye aha haratwi ya ye natar. Nadaru shalil ha nawar. Ya ye nafartum ya ye natar. Ya ye mantu ya ye natar. Ya ye bati ya ye natar. Ya ye sakamtat ya ye natartat. Ya ye hatat haratat ya ye natartat. Ya ye ba'ah ibis ya ye natar. Ya ye patah ya ye natar. Ya ye basastat ya ye natartat. Ya ye em hatab ya ye natar. Nadaru shalil ha Hawaii. Ya ye hu ya ye natar. Ya ye matat ya ye natartat. Ya ye mahart ya ye natartat. Ya ye khafaf reye ya ye natar. Ya ye maskanant ya ye natartat. Ya ye reye tat ya ye natartat. Ya ye kanti manti u ya ye natar. Ya ye hika ya ye natartat. Ya ye natatat ya ye natartat. Ya ye maat ya ye natartat. Ya ye renantat ya ye natartat. Ya ye shaitat ya ye natartat. Ya ye sashat ya ye natartat. Ya ye maftat ya ye natartat. Nadaru shalil ha matah. Ya ye sabak ya ye natar. Ya ye anap ya ye natar. Ya ye kanum ya ye natar. Ya ye kanas ya ye natar. Ya ye patanun ya ye natar. Ya ye soye ya ye natar. Ya ye haktat ya ye natartat. Ya ye amas ya ye natar. Ya ye saraptwi ya ye natar. Ya ye atun reye ya ye natartat. Ya ye dahutwi ya ye natar. Ya ye patawarat ya ye natartat. Ya ye sarakatat ya ye natartat. Ya ye ha ya ye natar. Ya ye nahab ka'ah ya ye natar. Ya ye sakar ya ye natar. Ya ye ba'ah ya ye natar. Ya ye akar ya ye natar. Ya ye emharatat ya ye natartat. Ya ye wapawatat ya ye natartat. Ya ye sakartatat. Ya ye sakat hataptat ya ye natartat. Ya ye maritat sakartat ya ye natartat. Ya ye soyetat ya ye natartat. Ya ye karatat ya ye natartat. Ya ye asat enu ya ye natar. Ya ye bahatat ya ye natartat. Ya ye khanamtat ya ye natartat. Ya ye manaktat ya ye natartat. Ya ye kamam ya ye natar. Ya ye mahatwi ya ye natar. Ya ye qabasanan afaf ya ye natar. Ya ye da'ah matat afaf ya ye natar. Ya ye maritat ya ye natartat. Ya ye nasat ya ye natartat. Ya ye emdadatat ya ye natartat. Ya ye nakak batat ya ye natartat. Ya ye sakatat ya ye natartat. Ya ye anatat ya ye natartat. Ya ye dadad ya ye natar. Ya ye tamum ya ye natar. Ya ye wahu ya ye natar. Ya ye yasas ya ye natar. Ya ye anak ya ye natar. Ya ye afaf nuit ya ye natar. Ya ye satat ya ye natar tat. Ya ye sakatwi ya ye natar. Ya ye emmaat ya ye natar. Ya ye nanah ya ye natar. Ya ye nuit ya ye natar. Ya ye satakwi ya ye natar. Ya ye muktatat ya ye natar tat. Ya ye rahas shafaf ya ye natar. Ya ye maratwi ya ye natar. Ya ye amun reye ya ye natar. Hu Nahuna te kala joev pau. The Darunun is active in our lives. If you have your health, the Darunun is active in your life. Your mental health, your physical health, your emotional health. The very reason why, the more reasonable we are, we have sound, right reason. We're in the image of natural nature. That's what we're working on. Allow Natharu to be active in your life. Now that we have acknowledged our Natharu, we can ask for what we want. This is prayer 1 to activate Hu, Sia, and Hika. Hu, Saye, Hika. The creative will, that's Hu. If you see it, then you can get there through your perceptive mind. Sia, that's your clear thoughts. And then Hika, that's your supernatural strength. Magic. Magic is pretty much the process of nature. That's Hu, Sia, and Hika. That's our sacred triad for manifestation. Ya Yehu, Ya Yehu, Ya Ye Nataru. Ya Ye Soye, Ya Ye Soye, Ya Ye Nataru. Ya Ye Hika, Ya Ye Hika, Ya Ye Nataru. Ansku matir pa mufaku. Ya Yehu, Ya Yehu, Ya Ye Nataru. Ansku matir pa mufaku. Una ter mukarukum. Ansku matir maisanum. Ya Yehu, Ya Yehu, Ya Ye Nataru. Akfush mukasnun atum reye. Ya Yehu, Ya Yehu, Ya Ye Nataru. The helping hand is at the end of your own arm. This is a self-help doctrine, and we are responsible for coming up with the solutions for our own problems through Hu, Sia, and Hika. We are free. Tapalor Atu, prayer 2, Kafush Anhu, free him, our master teacher, in the personage of His Excellency Dr. Malachi Kabina York Okran. Flesh and blood, like us. If we chant for our teacher's freedom, we are chanting for our own freedom. The hearts, minds, souls of the people that has been infiltrated. We chant for our freedom because where the mind and heart goes, the body follows. He is free, we are free. Ya ye muktamo afuznun. Anskum mane yake ladura maslafunun. Womusarunun. Mane yake sawura paba'a. Mane yake kawuna kahu. Mane yake afir akak. Mane yake kawuna bashaburamam. Yaye nataru muktamunun. Afush muftanun. Anhu kawun munzal maneh panataru. Afush anhu kawun bah yanun. Afush anhu kawun atum reye. Afush anhu kawun kafush. Got us, our ancient good ancestors, got us from the wicked ones that has infiltrated our very organization, our very bodies, our very genetics. Guard us, our good ones, from the wicked ones. Guard us from our ignorance, ignoring the facts. Guard us from becoming changed like the venom that has infiltrated the hearts, minds, bodies, souls of the people, so that we are not unnatural. Guard us so that we can remain one of you. Guard me, guard us. Tapalo talu. Yaye na taru muslafunun. Afuznun maneh pa mujradu. Afuznun maneh kahalan. Yaye na taru afuznun. Maneh sayor gayora. Afuznun. Afuznia. Afuznun. Afuznia. Yaye na tarunun. This prayer is for protection from the cursed Dragonians, the Draco seed that has infiltrated the hearts, minds, souls, and bodies of the people. Guard us. All of my chants and all of my prayers are for a certainty to natural nature, our overseers. Protect us. Tapalo rabu patap moy. Nakuk taluk tap moy biye panataru. Maneh pala en lawitananu. Kalau renamatni ate lahe panataru. Mukala tapoloratni ate lahe kayariatum lahe panataru. Our scroll for today will be Diagnosis of the Races. Thank you, Panataru, for not forgetting us, as this scroll was sent down for us because we are not forgotten, as a healing, as a cure. And we accept this healing, we accept this cure, we accept our master teacher. This book is the truth and the way. Hasawabu Pataruk. Panin misfa kawun. Pasawabu Pataruk. Ze kawuna nazula lahe amtkun. Mane musfatwu masaa. Ama hadea mumuda ma'un. Mane muslafukum. Unataru. Arjulaye nafashukum. Aufukshane kawunkum. Pasawabu pataruk. Pahadeamu padamal. Nahun tawuantkum. Lahe panendamal Wu-Sabat. Nahun Tawuanskum Lahitem Nasoinun Nahun Tawuanskum Lahir Ashukuma Anskuma der Muslafunun Nahun ater muprarukum Nahun salub nasakuma Nahun salub nasakuma Ansanun kahenataru Ansanun musafunun Nahun ater muspatu Anun Atum Amun Tawakum Nataru Wumuntaru. We are Sabians. Tawatak Babianun. In the personage of His Excellency, Dr. Malachi Kobina York or Khan Zeddy, living and breathing, flesh and blood like us, one of our very own. And Tawakum to us Muslafu, Moisar, as we do our very best to transform into the very best versions of ourselves in our one collective body. Ashuk. Our scroll for today will be Diagnosis of the Races. Feel free to unmute at any time, as you're welcome to participate, actively participate. A little bit about the author, Panabab Yanun, the master teacher, His Excellency, Dr. Malachi Z. Kobina York Okran. Kobina means born on Tuesday, June 26, 1945 AD, Ghana, Africa. That's Baba's coordinates, his energy coordinates. As Baba is, one of the many hats that he wears is our transmitter. And then you see the scroll of eyes. As we look at this scroll many times over together, collectively. Tankaz Shalul Pa Shabakat. Diagnosis of the races. 1. Lo, my beloved children of Wu Nuwapu. 2. You often ask, what is good to eat and drink? 3. Well, the first way to diagnose what is best for health and long healthy life while in the flesh, 4 is to know who you are by nature. All right? Who you are by nature. 5, to know who all others are by race and nature. All right? So it's very important, before you can ask what is good to eat and drink, first you must know who you are by nature. All right? Because you look on the planet, all these various creatures, what's good for each creature is going to be different. 6, to know where nature placed you on this planet. Where did nature place you genetically on this planet? 7, to know the weather of where nature put your race. 8, to know what grows where nature put your race. 9, to know the seasons and their changes where nature placed your race. 10, to know what race nature shaped of which you are a part of. All right, so to know what race are you a part of. 11, to know other races that nature shaped, which were changed by genetic breeding or sickness or diseases such as leprosy. 12, to know what taking in the wrong substances can do to your physical body. 13, to know what things outside your physical body can affect you. 14, to know what sounds can affect you. 15, to know how loud or low sound can affect you. Low and high sound. You know, there's this frequency that they say that as we're younger, our ears are sharper, for example, also depending on race, but there's actual frequency. And they said that adults, they really can't hear it, but children, they can hear it. So they did an experiment and they put that sound on, and the children were like, what's that sound? The adults, they couldn't hear it. And it's very irritating. All right. So even if you can't hear it, it's still vibrating and it's having an effect on you. So that was a very interesting. For example, like the dog, they can hear the doggy whistle. We don't necessarily hear it, but that's still a vibration. All right. So to know how a low sound or a high sound or a loud sound or a low sound can affect you. 16, to know how much light can affect you. 17, to know which colors can affect you. 18, to know how both sound and light can affect you. All right, I deal with skin care. I deal with skin for a living, for example. And lasers is a big thing in skincare. And the laser that you would use for a very pale person, you have to take into consideration a few things: how pale their skin is, how dark their hair is, and all these different frequencies. Because you can really jack someone up if you choose the wrong laser for them. So there's not a universal human laser, for example, because you have to get the right frequency for the amount of melanin the person has. So you can destroy someone's skin, for example, or even their organs, because different lasers, you can bypass certain organs if you get the right frequency. So that's an example. 19, to know how emotions can affect you. Definitely emotions affect us. How you feel, that lets out emotions, deal with hormones, and hormones are actual chemicals in your own body. All right. And for example, if you're very stressed, you can give off more cortisol, and then you start to, that's your fight or flight, and then you start to compound more fat, like in the midsection, and more bloatedness and things like that, just from a certain emotion. All right. Or good emotions, all these type of emotions. So just think about it. To know how speed can affect you. All right. To know how height can affect you. 22. To know how depth can affect you. 23. To know spinning around can affect you. All right. So do that. As a child, we used to spin around and around. But I'm more sensitive to spinning as I get older. I don't like it. But I could almost feel like my energy cords kind of getting twisted. It almost feels like that. But spinning around, how it could affect you, spinning of the planets and the different angles, all that. To know how what you breathe in can affect you. 25. To know your body inside, how each organ works, for what, why, and how. All right. So this all started with one question. Somebody said, what's good to eat or drink? Baba's telling you to consider all these things. We're going down the list. All right. 26, to know what affects your inner systems. 27, to know how your senses work in relation to your brain. 28, to know how your eyes work and why. 29, to know how your mouth works and why. 30, to know how your sexual organs work and when and why. Rahubat Zamal Sakhem Ka.
Robert, doing that. I'm out the hospital and
Oh,
I'm happy. Yeah, I was there a whole year, Nuntat, even though I was online with you. A whole year,
Mhm.
girl. A year.
Wow. I'm
Yes.
happy that you out. Wow, I
Yeah, that
had no idea.
McDonald's.
You're a strong
Yeah.
person.
Thank you, Towel Hat. What you were just reading about spinning when we was young,
Mm-hmm.
it brought out a tape to me on YouTube. I came to right the wrong where Baba was breaking down music. And he said Michael Jackson was a shaitan for them by showing black kids when we was younger that triple spin. And he said what you was doing, what you were saying was related to it. We tangle our etheric cords. You were
Mm.
just saying that. You know what I mean? That's all I wanted to say. Towel Hat.
Oh,
Yeah,
tell him that.
I'm so happy to be out that damn hospital. and
I'm
next month I'm gonna go to Bahamas and just filter out, come back. I'm gonna have an umbrella, because of my skin and stuff like that. So I'm using the shea butter and herbs and talcum for shouting me out and your concern. All right,
yeah.
what do?
How's the salt water for you? Can you handle that?
Yeah, I don't think I could handle that. They just let me out Tuesday, so I'm just using natural shea butter soap and
Mm-hmm.
shea butter, 'cause they're putting all kind of lotions on me, and like Dr. Sabi said, what we don't put on our skin, we shouldn't eat. My family was bringing me natural remedies, but they still would put, their versions on me or whatever. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I'm
Uh,
good though. I'm
I'm,
sitting in
I'm,
my car watching this live with you, so I'm happy to be out a whole year though. Think on that. All right,
wow.
what? Yeah.
It's the perfect scroll for us to be reading together to
Oh
celebrate
yeah,
you
that's
coming
what I
out.
was saying.
It's
I'm
your
in it.
celebration.
I got
Okay.
that scroll too in the crib. Yeah, towel hat.
All
Yep.
right,
All right.
Jamal. All right.
Yep.
I'm happy. All right. So we're gonna all send our brother Sakem. We're gonna send him some love and thoughts of him healing as he's on that journey of healing and to each other, because that's what this circle's about. Us healing our mentality, physical, mental, our emotional bodies. So yes, much love to our brother. All right, so let's get back to our reading. So 25, your body, to know your body inside, how each organ works, for what, why, and how. 26, to know what affects your inner systems. 27, to know how your senses work in relation to your brain. 28, to know how your eyes work and why. All right. To go back to 26, like to know your senses and how it works in relation to your brain. So, like right now behind me, I got my candle burning and it smells really good. And and then I have my plant over there, and then I put sprays that I like to smell because I know that that is very good for waking up certain parts of the brain, for example. So the sensibility, your senses and sensibility, think of the word senses, your five senses, that could also help you tap into your other senses as well. And you hear the word sensibility or senses or sensing something. So activating different parts of our brain. All right. To know how your eyes work and why. 29, to know how your mouth works and why. 30, to know how your sexual organ works, when and why. 31, to know how your ears work, how and why, to overstand touch and contact. 32, feelings on the physical and how they translate into pleasures and pain. All right. Pleasures and pain. Why? What's the purpose of pleasures and pain? When you understand how your body's put together. All right. 33, to know what sleep is and the effect it has on you. 34, to know how much sleep is needed as you age and how it affects your growth and health. 35, to know the products you use on your skin. 36, to know how your skin works. 37. To know how your hair or fur grows, why, and when. All right. This is one of my favorite books. I have two of these, How It Works, anatomy books. Just by reading these different books, sometimes I just get these anatomy books. All right. It just makes me, I feel like a better person. All right. To know how things work. Because when you know how something works, you're more likely to respect the way it's put together. A lot of times we're very disrespectful. We don't even realize. Baba said we're disrespectful. I remember he said that he don't like the way we chant, and he used the word disrespectful. He said we're disrespectful. But how can you respect something if you don't even know how it's put together? You can't respect the proper misuse. So take the time to get to know the very forces of nature. Get to know like how you're put together. Get to know why certain things. Because you could respect the laws of nature some more, because like we could respect the laws of nature when we take time to see why they're put there. All right. Because we don't have a fear of some fire that's going to burn us up. We're more cautious of the hell that we can create for ourselves, because if we don't acknowledge something how it works, it's more likely to work against us. All right. So we can create our own hells or our own heavens. All right. So to know what sleep is and the effect it has on you, how much sleep you need. Okay. 36, to know how your skin works, to know how your hair, fur grows, when and why. 38, to know how to protect your hair or your fur. 39, to know the parts of your brain. 40, to know how your brain works. 41, to know how your ear, eye, and throat relate to each other and how each works. 42, to know how the glands in your brain works, when and how and why, and their relationship to each other. That's what the chanting does. Did you know that the chanting activates different parts of your brain? So before you can do the harmony, Bible says you need to do the unity. So we need to chant on the tone of A, because that does something to the overall brain. When we chant on F, it activates another part of your brain. When you chant on C, that activates another part of your brain. When you chant on all at the same time, it activates multiple parts of your brain at the same time, creating gateways. All right. So now you can go through different dimensions. So that's just an example Bobby explains. All right. So know how your brain works, the glands in your brain. You have different glands. And when, how, and why, and their relationship to each other. 43, to know what sexual relationships do to your body and bodily fluids. 44, to know what ovulation. What is ovulation? When, why, and how? 45, to know what menstruation is. When, why, and how? 46, to know what an orgasm is. How and why? 47, to know where your G-spot is, both female and male, and what is it, how it works, and why. 48, to know what ejaculation is, how it works, what it is. 49, to know your sexual organs, inside and outside, how they work for both sexes and why. 50, to know what semen or sperm is. 51, to know where it originates, how and why. 52, to know all body fluids, how they originate and why. 53, to know how you age and to know the effects of aging. All right. I want to talk about those sexual aspects, very important, because right now there's an effort of this whole what is it called? What do you call that? Transgender effort, when they go inside the human body and they start hacking it up. Because I feel like, let's say I feel like I'm born a man, so they're gonna hack the different parts of your body up, or you feel like I'm a man, I'm born a woman. However, your sexual organs is far more than just for sex. So people don't realize, when you start to go and take ovaries out and you start removing things that are healthy, they're secreting organs not just to support sex, but to support life itself, your life. So like, for example, when you're sick or something like that, you actually start to reach in and tap into, because you get so much energy. That's an energy center. One of the greatest energy centers is down by your genitals. And when we start hacking it up, you actually shorten your life. All right. So um a lot of people don't know that. So no, when you know how you put together, you're less likely to abuse it, especially if you have a healthy body. Nature has given you health. All right. And when you know how everything's put together, it's not just a vanity piece. All right. There's multi dimensions, and you get to know all the dimensions of your being. You're much less likely to abuse it or misuse it, or be overly sexed with the wrong person, or intaking the wrong things, and so on and so on. All right. But we have been cut off from these basic sciences of how it works. All right. So to know where it originates, how and why. Even I'm even thinking of like how certain secretions that come from the ovaries, as a woman, I'm speaking, that it changes as you go through certain changes in your life, and the very functions of your skin itself will change. So you need even certain hormones just for the natural health of even what your skin does. All right. So not just the skin, but even parts of your brain, like certain aspects of your brain, and why there's scientific research that's showing how certain disorders or misuses of the sex organs, how it actually can lead to certain dementia and different things, even Parkinson, different parts of the brain, because everything is in balance with everything else. So when you take something here, you can throw the balance of something else. That seems like a whole different system, but it's all connected. So that's the importance. So to know how you age. 54, know the effects of aging. 55, children of Wunuapu, know yourself inside out and outside in. And even what we consider the effects of aging, that's not the effects of aging. Because when I travel the world, I see elders squatting down. They're like 90, squatting down, and they're like, and coming back up, and they're elders. And it's like, so what we consider aging is not aging. That's like sickness that has caught up, from what I see, what we accept as natural aging. 55, children of Wunuapu, know yourself inside out and outside it. 56, children of Wunuapu, know what you put on yourself and what you put inside yourself. 57, and jewels of my eyes, Nuapians, know how the environment affects you. 58, be you, Negroid, or mixed, or Caucasians and mixed. All right, so be you, Negroid and mixed. So whatever you are by nature, all right, you have to be who you are by nature. So if you're Negroid, be you by that. If you're mixed, that you have your own needs. If you're Caucasian, you have your own needs, or mixed. All right. So 59, where on this planet did nature grow you? 60, what else grows there? Where you were grown as a being, an animal, where you were grown. So what else grows? What else grows there? And where were you grown as an animal? All right, as a being, your body. 61. Now, of course, many people have been misplaced, removed from their natural place of birth. 62. By choice or by force. 63. Yet they are not where nature grew them, whether by choice or not choice or force. You're still not where nature intended. 64. Like all animals on earth, they may move from place to place, yet will always eat what nature aligned for them. The original grew from where the original grew. 65. The same for all races of people. 66. All right, I went to a science like exhibit museum type of thing, and it was, I forgot this creature, but it's a creature, I forgot what it's called, but it's in the deep ocean and it has the light. It's this fish, it looks like this, and it has a light like this that glows. So like that's the fish, then there's a light here, and then that's the fish, and then it eats other fish too. But what happens is, because it's in the deep ocean, other smaller fish could be attracted to the light, and then it eats it up. But they were showing how these various families, they can tell by the microbiome of each family of fish. So these fish have a special microbiome, but even in the same species, their microbiome could be varied from family to family. And they were showing how the microbiome, it's unique to each of their family lines. So I was thinking, like, genetic kiss, that automatically made me think of genetic kiss, because when you kiss somebody or you eat from somebody or you have sex with somebody, you're sharing a microbiome. So you can get diseases like H. pylori is very common disease that people get from sharing saliva. And it's like a bacteria that goes and lives in your microbiome. And definitely you can get that through sex. But your microbiome, they say your stomach is your second brain. And a lot of us have messed up microbiomes. And then also the enzymes, because what you've been, some people, they digest certain foods very easily. This other group doesn't digest it as easily because their microbiome is unique to what that race is meant to do by nature. And so I'm thinking about all this confusion in the very gut, can be very detrimental to animals and to humans alike. So 66. Each race was grown on their own parts of the planet Earth, or migrated to a part best for their health, be it weather or changes in nature. 67. That was nature's way of saying move to this or that place. As the leper moved to caves and hillsides, or into cold or cool environments best suited for their disease of leprosy, and others they received as a curse or by nature. 68. Some kakasu or caucasoids run from the rays of the sun out of fear of cancer. 69. So many people are a product of natural creation, while others are made, grafted, cloned, and or transformed by genetic diseases. 70. And what affects your body affects your brain, linked to your mental state of mind, your emotions. 71. Diagnosis, Nuwapians, is where you live affects your whole being. All right, so now we're going to start to what the diagnosis is. All right, 72. This is the diagnosis. Where you live affects your whole being. What you eat affects your whole being. What you drink affects your whole being. What you breathe affects your whole being. What you see affects your whole being. What you hear affects your whole being. And what you smell affects your whole being. What you think, feel affects your whole being. Now, my beloved children, Nuwapians, let us investigate others. All right. And I remember Baba saying that we need to get away from the cockazoo. He said that over 10 years ago. Because he said that their time has expired. So being around them is like, they already represent death, but now they're like really death because they've expired, and they're giving off even stronger death gases than before. So as we're breathing that in, it's not good for us, as Bob had explained. All right. And I don't know about anybody else, but I've been smelling like a stench, like in the last few, for a while, but I'm smelling it everywhere now. And then I read an article actually recently about there was a bad sulfur smell in California. All right. So it's very interesting. All right. 80. Now, my beloved Nuapian, my children Nuapians, let us investigate others. 81. If you look at the elders of each race, you see that race's future health. 82. And by checking which diseases they have, it relates to what they ate their whole life and the effects it had on them. Not just what they ate and drank, but where they live and the kind of work they did over the years. 83. Their emotional state of mind, such as fear of death by old age, as taught by most religions of spookism. Of spookism. Let's see, where am I? Okay. I lost my place. It's 82. And by checking which diseases they have, it relates to what they ate their whole life and the effects it had on them, not just what they ate and drank, but where they live and the kind of work they did over the years. 83. The emotional state of mind, such as fear of death by old age, as taught in most religions of spookism. 84. Bad sleeping habits. 85. Lack of physical exercise. 86. Look at an elder in old age. Look at their fingers, and you may see arteriosclerosis. And why? 87. Look at their joints, their knuckles. You may see arthritis. 88. This can be genetic or it can be diet. Look at the Mongalu or the Mongoloids, the Asians, such as the Chinese, Japanese, and the Korean, and many sub-races of them. You see lots of arthritis. Why? A starch diet, too much rice. All right, so look at a lot of the elders. All right. And what's a commonality in each elders. And that is very common for a lot of Asians. 89. Now, Nuapians, I say look around the world and each group of people and what they ate. 4 generations pass on. Not just 30 spirits, but also 30 genetic traits. So he said not just look at their personalities, but also look at their genetic traits. They're on 30 back, so that's 4 generations. Look at elders of each race, diagnose them, diagnose their sicknesses and their diseases. 91. Diseases can also be from ill breeding. All right, not all genetics were meant to come together too. I remember it was told to me that Baba had told this couple, but Baba said we don't listen anyway. They were together, and Baba told this couple that they shouldn't make any children, but they didn't listen. And then they made children. The children that they made, or the child came out with special needs. So that's poor breeding. 92. Not investigating the genetic past of those you have exchanged bodily fluids. 93. Eating the food of other races and sub-races designed for their genetics according to where they are grown. 94. You may love Italian food. Have you investigated the elder women of Roman and Latin sub-race? How the diet affects them in old age? 95. Look at the Eskimos as a people, part of the Mongoloid sub-race. They don't have heart troubles. Why? What they have been eating over 4 generations. Don't believe me, check it out. All right. So Baba's giving an example. Eskimos, all right, they have a lot of the same genetics as the other Oriental races, and they have a lot less heart troubles. And why is that? Eskimos, they don't eat as much rice. They don't eat as much starch. All right, they eat a lot of fish and things like that. Don't believe me, check it out. And all others. The worst diets of all are religious diets found in the Torah, Gospel, and the Quran. Now look at their elders. 99, sick, diseased, blind, deaf, cancer, heart troubles, high blood pressure, high sugar, on and on. All right, it's a very meat and starch diet in the Torah, Quran, and the Gospel. All right, go to any church function, they got the mac and cheese there. They got all this, what they call soul food. All right, and bread rolls and all that. Some of the worst foods that you could eat. And then look at our elders, all right, who lived with those indoctrinations. They don't really age that gracefully. 100. Most religions of Abrahamism tell you how to eat to live. Yet, if you look at their leaders, they all have physical problems. 102. Many have died from illnesses, not in perfect health as they should be. 103. Look at the 5 prayers of Islamic religion of Abraham, called Muslim salats. The times that Muslims make salat prayers are not healthy for the human body or brain. The human body lacks the right amount of sleep, waking up all hours of the night. All right, that's very damaging to the brain. So now you see Baba says, we chant at 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock. All right, if you have time, and if you happen to be up at 3 o'clock in the morning, we don't wake ourselves up at 3 o'clock in the morning. If you happen to be up and you want to chant, you could chant at 3 o'clock as well. And then when you look at what's going on in the circadian rhythm, it really helps to put you back on a natural rhythm and to secrete certain things at certain times. All right. So it's not just something that we do randomly. All right. It's for a reason. But as Baba explains, the way that the Muslims make salat, all right, it's out of tune with the natural rhythms. So it's really very detrimental to their brain if they're actually keeping the salat. 105. And as in their first month of Ramadan, a 30-day fasting period from before sunrise to after sunset. 106. Yet they wake up early to eat what they call sahur, breakfast. Too early to eat. Then that kind of fasting is not healthy for the body. All right? That kind of fasting is not healthy for the body. All right? That makes sense to me because, first off, you're going to fast all day when your body is in the most active state. And then it's okay to eat a big meal when the sun goes down, when your body's actually processing things slower and it's supposed to be resting. It's opposite. You might as well just eat in the daytime and fast the rest of the day if you want to fast for 30 days. You just change the order of that's what your body wants to do. So that kind of fast is not healthy for the body. Why? Because as all other animals, your body tells you when you need to eat and when you need to sleep. 109. So a real God would know that, and Allah did not. 110. And so Muslim elders are very sickly, blind, and have more skin problems from water on the skin 5 times a day without replacing the natural oils before they pray. All right, as a skin person, you constantly washing your face. You're gonna have problems, you're depleting your natural barrier. You had to replenish it. They don't include that in their ritual. 111. Bad knees from kneeling down and up in their prayers. Scars on their forehead from prostration on the ground. Not healthy. It is the same for Christians and Jews. 112. So religions of Abraham as well as Buddhism and Hinduism are not healthy lifestyles, not at all. Just look at the elders and you diagnose them. You know what comes to mind? There was this Hindu and he was trying to show his devotion, like how devoted, and he's really celebrated. But you realize that what he was doing was really demonic when you think about nature. And he held his arm up like this in the air in protest for something like that was going on. He just kept his arm in a fist for all these years, and he didn't bring it down. And so now this arm is all, you can look him up. I forgot his name. And they celebrate him as being extra devoted. But now his arm doesn't work. It's really skinny and shriveled up and really against nature. And they were talking about the dangers of if he was to bring his arm down, it can actually be very dangerous at this point. So that they may actually, if he wanted to, for the rest of his life, he's going to be in that position. And if he wanted to, they probably had to amputate the arm because it's not useful anyway. So 112, the religions of Abrahamism as well as Buddhism and Hinduism are not healthy lifestyles, not at all. Just look at the elders and you diagnose them. 113, and you Negroids, most live outside of where you should have been grown, Africa, Ganawa. 114, with the right amount of sun rays on your skin, and you must activate your solar panels in and through your dark eyes. 115, and your feet on the pure earth, the water, the air, and the weather, all the things that grow for you. 116, you were removed from your natural environment for more than 400 years. That's more than 4 generations. 117, you accepted all kinds of religion from others and habits other than your own natural way. 118, you eat others' food grown for them. 119, you eat blood flesh of your own creation. 120, you drink alcohols and sodas and so much more. 121, you dress in colors that attract the sun rays, yet not as you would have, and dress as others, not your own. All right. So even your very taste. I remember Bob was saying, living in the cities, we start to acclimate with the grays and the cities and the buildings. So you notice that the dress reflects the buildings. Rather than people who are growing up in a more natural environment, they tend to wear naturally more vivid colors because they acclimate their clothing to their environment. So you could just imagine like us dressing like that, and then also what we're acclimating to wherever we are. 122, you alter your hair. You put unnatural chemicals on your skin. 123, you sleep with defected men and women with defected genes. 124, you were born by those who did not know better and have passed on to you their defects. 125, you listen to bad music. 126, look at your elders. What do they die from? Look at what they have now from 400 years of mixing and their religions of men who really did not know they taught wrong. 127, now my beloved children, look at the elders of all other races on the planet. 128, look at cultures, look at religions, look at diets, look at habits. 132, look at sexual activity. 133, and look at them, each of them. You will diagnose what is wrong and how to prevent it. 135, my beloved, don't be deceived by others' books, lies, or religions. It is as simple as looking at their elders. Nuwapians, know yourself. Nuwapians, diagnose yourself. Heal yourself by diagnosing the races or diagnoses of the races. All right. And that's our scroll. It's a very simple scroll and very practical scroll. Um, what are you taking from it in this very simple scroll? Rabbi Zamal, Nanetu Reye, Nabab.
Robert, give me one moment, please. I'd like to answer your question.
Mm-hmm. And how can you relate to this in your everyday life, in your own families, um, the various people that you come across? I'm thinking about also media, because media tends to show the glamorous side. It doesn't really show the struggles that people go through unless you actually take the time to get to know their elders.
All right, Robert, can I be heard?
Tua.
This was a really good scroll, even though it was short, but it was very good. Very, very good. Now, what I have actually digested from it, because this is my first time actually hearing it, is that before you even make one decision based upon who you are or those around you, you need to know everything that you are made up of, where you came from, what your what the history of the people that you came from and what they have eaten. You know, your skin, just like everybody's skin is not even made the same. The hair follicle is not made the same, nor is the vibration in which the skin is moving is not the same or the vibration of the hair. And what I mean by vibration too, I also mean that different colors do have a form of vibration. You know, and so you have people with different vibrations that may be, let's just say, pale. You may have one that is brown, one may be dark brown. You know, you get where I'm going. And so, just to even answer one question of what is good to eat, then we need to also know, well, what is good for your skin? What is good for your heart? What is good for your digestive system? What is good for your intestinal tracts? What is good for your fingernails? And these are all very important because the different Salau races do need different levels of minerals and nutrients, such as us as Negrado, we like our food to have season. And that's what Baba had taught us, that we are seasoned people, meaning that we love to have our food to be seasoned. I don't know, I like my food to taste good. Whereas a Caucasian being, they don't need all that season on their food. You know, so even our taste buds is also different too. And so, me personally, when I have many clientele, and they may come to me for health reasons, I do have to do a full diagnostic and ask them quite a lot of questions. You know, what is your diet? What's your parent diet? You know, et cetera, so I can give them the best effect or the best results when they're having a sickness or a disease that they're coming to me for, which is why I've been able to maintain 93% of my clientele doing good, because I give a full diagnostic on it by asking them very detailed questions. I found it to be a very good scroll, even though I'm still digesting it too. Because if we don't know the origin of anything, then we can't really know exactly what we should be doing at this very moment. So we got to look back. What may taste good like a bag of chips could be really bad for your white blood cells, red blood cells. The ectoplasma, which is something within our blood, the ectoplasma cell, which is actually like a spiritual cell that actually protects you from just randomly getting possessed. And this cell becomes weakened whenever we drink a lot of alcoholic drinks or also smoke a lot of unhealthy things that we smoke, be it drugs, you know, etc. And if it's bad for these things, then it really can't be that good for you just because it tastes good. So I guess to give it a summary, we have become ignorant of everything in our bodies and what's good for our organs, our bodies, ourselves, our whole state of mind. And we have replaced it with just, it tastes good.
Or she looks good, or he looks good. Same
Yeah.
thing. Mm-hmm.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm still digesting it, but this is very good. So you have to diagnose the entire race to even answer such a simple question.
Sure. Because it started with this whole book starts just with one question: what is good to eat or
Yes,
drink? That's just the whole
yes.
question.
Now it's starting to make me think about so much mixing, that is taking place. It makes you wonder, like, what is good for a person, because of what they're
Yeah.
mixed with. I mean, but then again, no matter what race mixed with a Negrado, you still are Negrado.
Tua. You have to know your different degrees because he also says you also have to take into consideration where you where you have been or even deciding. Because like let's say African that they've been here for 4 generations without mixing. They just been in a cold place and they just decided we're not going to mix. They still have to take into consideration that they've been outside of their natural environment for 4 generations. So it's like trying to go back to the gym. I'm gonna go right back to the gym like I've always been going. You hurt yourself, so you have to still, um, be mindful that you may still have to make adjustments even when you're going back home.
Mm.
Let me see
Man,
if I.
this is a very good part to that.
Mm-hmm. Of course. Let me see now. Many people have been misplaced or removed. Place where they go, what you eat. It's
I
worth
will share this
reading.
though.
Huh?
Me personally, I will share this. I've been in a very sunlit area, like Arizona. It's very, very little pollution, and there's an abundance of sunlight. And I remember when I left Arizona after being here for almost 2 decades, and I went to Georgia, and I got sick, like my second week. I got sick and I got dizzy because of the pollution that was actually in the air, and I wasn't used to an environment like that. And then a lot of foods, an abundance of fast food that you can choose from down there as well. I wouldn't eat any of it, because then it ties right into the morphogenetics as well, how your genetics morph based on the environment that you're in, so we could better suit the environment that you're being exposed to.
Mm-hmm.
But just because you're being exposed to the environment and your genetics morph to it does not necessarily mean that it's good, because it could be a very unnatural environment, like a whole bunch of concrete and tall buildings. So we have to look at where we came from as an origin and actually get back to that state.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the healing is. Because it says to know yourself.
Mm-hmm.
135. My beloved, don't be deceived by others' books, lies, religions. It's simple as looking at the elders. Nuwapians, know yourself. Nuwapians, diagnose yourself. Heal yourself by diagnosis in the races or diagnosis of the races. So it reminds me of like when there was a tone ceremony and Baba went into to tell everybody their tone. It's like, okay, you vibrate on this, you vibrate on that, you vibrate on this. But that's the diagnosis. It doesn't mean you want to stay there because he said that our wavelength is A. Our wavelength tone is A. So this is how we are when we are healthy. And so many things have pulled us out of that. So you can diagnose somebody by how they sound, how they look, what's going on there. So what's going on with them. Doesn't mean that they should stay there because the diagnosis is just the beginning of your healing. Let's see what else. All right. So if somebody wants to unmute and they can tell me, or maybe it might be personal, within your comfort zone of how you can see this scroll playing out in your own life, in your own personal life, if you want to share something. All right. So Zamar,
Worries about that.
yes.
So me, when I see the way that the scholarship plays out in my personal life, because on a daily basis we are constantly exposing ourselves to things and doing things that's unnatural to our being, and every single one of us in America does it, and we don't even realize it. And I'll give you one thing that we all do: we stay in the house. We stay in a house where the walls are actually made out of material that is giving off a form of vibration that is also impacting your very own vibration, which does also impact your state of mind. That's one. We turn on lights. And when we turn on lights, that's also giving off a form of vibration, like even yellow lights, which have been known to actually stimulate chemicals in the mind that will actually cause depression to occur within our being, as well as also stress to happen in our daily lives. These are things that we are always constantly exposed to instead of diagnosis, like where is it that we came from, and what is the course of action or the plan that is necessary and need to be implemented so that we can actually get back to the state to where we can even be in a better state of mind, mentally. And this is why I've talked so many times that we think that we're in a good state. Just do your best to live the way of life, because we're not going to be able to fully live our way of life until we actually get the heck out of America. Because we're constantly exposed to things that is very unnatural to our being. Walking on concrete, walking on concrete with shoes that are actually not good for our being. And I'm gonna touch on that, okay? Water is highly conductive, meaning that if you was to take electricity or a cord that has electrical currents flowing through it and you put it in water, it would actually send shockwaves through the water. But why is that? Because water is highly conductive and our body's mostly made up of water. But if you was to actually take that same electrical cord that has electricity flowing through it and put it on concrete, there will be no electrical flow. So now just think about our bodies, us in specific as Nagar Nadu. Us in specific, we have the most electrical currents that's flowing through our body on a daily basis. It even impacts how we think, it impacts how our cells communicate, and we also heal faster too than other races because of that, as our body heals with electrical impulses. And any doctor can actually tell you that our body communicates with electrical impulses. So when we have things like concrete that we're constantly walking on, or even if it's barefoot or it's not barefoot, but the fact is that concrete has been known to actually absorb and pull the electrical currents out of your body. So when you walk on it and you're an electrical being, or as they would try to say, an alkaline being, as you're being an electrical being that's walking on this, is actually pulling the electrical currents out of your body, and that affects how we think. It affects the efficiency in how our cells communicate with one another. Think about your heartbeat, and every time it pumps the electrical currents that's flowing through it. Think about that. And our feet are highly absorbent. When we wake up in the middle of the night or the shadow hours, you want to go to the restroom, or you want to get a snack, or you get some water, or whatever it is you do just to sit down and think, and then you walk on the same floor that's in your home, that material that's made, if you have like a concrete floor that's not rubbed, that material that is made out of also pulls from the electrical currents in our body. Is unhealthy for us. So we have to diagnose the entire race to even know what is better suited for us for our living condition as well as our eating condition. We do these things daily. Let's not forget the fabrics of our socks. That's another thing too. There's a lot that can be built on within this small part of that. Just something as simple as how you need to diagnose your own self or diagnose ourselves entirely before we actually make a decision. This is one of the things that me personally, I was working on a project to actually be able to have better floors because I spent 4 years of my life designing houses, right? And I wanted to develop floors inside of a home for our people all over that were actually made out of better material as well as metals and stones that's better for us to actually walk on. And this is one thing Baba had actually said, like as they keep him inside of that ADX Colorado Amex prison, they have him sleeping on this concrete bed. And that concrete is actually what they make that concrete out of all over America. It actually weakens extraterrestrials. And you may be an extraterrestrial housed in the body that you're in, and how it actually weakens you. And so they want to keep him on there so he can just grow weaker and weaker and weaker and try to keep him away from the sun. But of course, recently they said that he's been moved, and now he said he was able to touch the sun, and he said he feels more powerful than Superman. And this applies to all Nagar Nanu around the world, like what we're constantly exposed to diagnose. That make sense?
It does.
Okay.
So it does. So, and then also we could think of I want other people to participate too. Or if you just want to like digest the scroll and read it on your own, that's good too. But think about, even if you don't participate in this room, you look at your own families. What's going on with them, the trajectory. If you stay on the same path, if you keep doing the same thing, what's your likely outcome? Let's see, what's another one. A lot of times I've noticed that we sometimes excuse behavior because we're like, well, we find this is not good for us, and then it's like, okay, this is not good. And then some of us say, well, my such and such lived to be 100 years old, and they smoke cigarettes every day. So it's like, besides the smoking of the living long, you also want to look at the quality of the life the person lived, not just about living long. What's the quality? What's another thing? Also, being mindful of the standards all around, because the standards has dropped so much that we consider like degrees of health, and a lot of us in certain sick states, we have accepted that as normal. So we should also look into the natural effects of aging versus the natural effects of sickness over a span of time, because some sicknesses, it takes a while to finally make an impact versus natural aging. What does natural aging really look like? And do we really see that? So these are things to consider. And then what's also natural for each race? What's the trajectory if each race is living in accordance to their own design? How does aging look to each race? So these are things we could think about as well.
Which is something that's very true because all of us are living on planet Earth, are we not? And a planet is constantly rotating and moving around the sun, is it not? But yet you have many different species of also like humans, as well as species of animals and insects. But even though the planet is rotating and is moving, all of us don't age the same. The expected lifespan of one group of insects, of ants, could actually be much different than the expected lifespan of another ant. The expected lifespan of one feline species could be very much different than another feline species, as well as the expected lifespan of one race of humanoids on this planet could be actually much different than another race of humanoids on this planet. Yet we're all living on this planet and it is still rotating, which lets us know that we all don't age the same or at the same time or at the same rate. And since that is an actual fact, then it will make much more sense why different races have their own calendar and why they have their own culture to tell the time of their specific species and when they age. And we have been really out of place of who we are going by what is called a Gregorian calendar, which is completely off, and that was for the Caucasians race. And we're basing signs, which we call zodiac sign, which is an incomplete star map, because the zodiac sign came from the Dendeta star map, which is located on the ceiling of a Hathor temple. And the Dendeta star map actually had 24 signs and not 12, but then they reduced it to 12, and then they put it under the Gregorian calendar. And so even when we think that you might be a Gemini or a Cancer or Leo or whatever you're saying, all of that is thrown off. So we don't really know exactly like what you are or what we are entirely because we're going by somebody else's timeline and time span and how they live their life duration.
You know what they didn't also they didn't take into consideration the various precessions and the shifts. So when
Hmm.
there's a shift, it's gonna throw time will shift. So if you're going by an old precession, you're still in the wrong zodiac, even if you had the right calendar, so to speak. So with the change, they didn't equate into the equations change. So that's why I remember Baba talking on that the signs that people really think they are, it's really not. They actuality, Baba said that they lost track of time in general, so they don't even know really what time it is at all.
There you go. That's very true. I wanted to read a comment that I see that there's a Malta had put in the chat because I don't seem like she's probably able to speak. Her seed 432. And she said, personally, being raised with a mother who thought everything was designed to quote unquote kill you was hard to understand back in the 90s. A lot of healthier food wasn't accessible then, but has better over time. Sometimes those had to eat things, but had detox shortly after was strenuous on their child's body. Mm.
Can you repeat
We,
that last something about strenuous?
yeah, I could read it again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she says sometimes those had to eat things but had detox shortly after was strenuous on the child's body.
Oh, maybe I don't understand what's being said.
I think I'm pretty sure I get what she's saying is that, you know, like based in the environment where we lived, we didn't really have a choice on what we ate and how we just had to eat whatever was available, even though it was really hard on the body of a child. And then they had to later on detox in life. Um, if you had some time to speak, Hersey, you know, you could definitely come up and give a little clarity. But in the meantime,
I will. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
mm, but yes, in the meantime, a lot of us weren't not in the right condition. We're not in the right state of mind because we actually are really out of place with sounds, vibrations, frequencies, and every single thing, even the cell phones that all of us are holding in our hands or probably sitting on the counter or maybe mounted to a car or maybe sitting in your pocket where you got your headphones on, is giving off a vibration and frequency. And all of this actually affects our very own magnetic field, you know. And when you think about your magnetic field, don't think in such a general term. Also think in specifics, because as you have a magnetic field that surrounds your entire body, well, think about how you can actually see the magnetic field of your cells. Think about how our organs have magnetic fields and different energy and frequency flow to it.
You know, when
They
you said
take that into consideration.
mm-hmm. And when you said magnetic field, I'm thinking about the natural ecology. Like
Mm-hmm.
certain I'm thinking of like a rainforest, so to speak. And certain animals or plants or whatever have their specific space and time, but you can move one animal to another outside of its space and time. To an like so these two plants that really are not meant to be together, like they're both natural in their own place and time, but together they're not,
Mm-hmm.
and it messes up the whole ecology. They become like poisonous to each other or poisonous to the ecology. So I'm also considering that when you think of the electromagnetic grid that or the that we each have, the planet's grid, and how everybody was placed in their right place and time in the right season. So we start to create glitches in that field. So certain beings are not really meant to be in their vicinity because nature doesn't really put them together. That doesn't happen naturally. So I'm seeing, well, what would that do to that magnetic grid? What would it do to the way these beings are put together? It should have a natural response, naturally.
And I was throwing off the ecology too.
Yes.
Yeah, it's completely throwing it off. So we take those whole things into actually consideration before we make a decision. We got to give a complete diagnosis of the entire environment, the entire food, the vibrations, the fabric, and what we even wear. I remember a person had spoke to me one time, and they said that the kind of clothes you wear doesn't make you more spiritual. And I had asked the person, I paused for a moment and I asked the person, give me a little bit more details of what you mean. He said, just because you might wear a African clothes or a Hindu clothes or whatever it is, it doesn't make you more spiritual. And I said, when you say spiritual, you're seeing a vibration. And the person said, I guess. So I was like, well, I said, you got to give a little more diagnosis of what you're saying. So I responded to the person with this. Every single color does have a vibration to it. That's a fact. And we all know that. And it also has a certain feeling to it as well. And your spirit has a vibration to it as well. So exposing yourself to certain colors does affect your vibrational level spiritually, as well as the chemical level too. Because you have the chemoreceptors, which are located on the stem of the brain, which is also called the reptile part of your brain. And these things are impacted. They are impacted based on the sights and colors that we are constantly being exposed to. This was another reason why Baba had also taught that for us to get ready for a deeper journey to the stars, there were certain colors that we cannot even be exposed to, which is
Mm.
why we have to just do our best to live our culture here. So one of the colors we should always have as men will be black, red, gold, white, because of how that it gives off a vibration which actually aids with your vibration. So I hear many people they throw certain words around without giving a full diagnosis or diagnostic as to well, is it impacting you? Because the fact of the matter is it is. Every color is a form of vibration. Is it not? Is every color not part of the light spectrum? And that light spectrum actually has an impact on us on our daily basis, on our daily lives, on how we think and even how we feel.
And even the material
Hmm.
that's made of, because if you're wearing a
There you
synthetic,
go.
um, it's gonna first off make you smell different. So you're giving off, because smell is a vibration too.
Yes.
Um, then what materials, all right, because they were talking about how you actually take in certain microfibers. You can actually take them in those plastics. You can penetrate.
Yes.
So yeah, so it all matters. Matter matters, right?
Hmm.
So it's like how it looks, how it sounds, how it is,
Hmm.
and that's why I like our actual facts. So one thing that we chant for is that we don't ignore the facts. And if it's there for a reason. So it's better that we know the reasons behind these things. And Bible said that we become more reasonable. So it becomes unreasonable to do something that'll be detrimental. So if you're doing something that's a more reasonable thing to do, that by definition will be a more spiritual being.
There you go.
And there's many layers to the spell. So, some of us
Mm-hmm.
do better in the eating department. Some of us do better. There's so many layers. And Bible said, and it takes me back to that whole lesson of Ashuk, that oftentimes Bible said that we condemn each other for things that we do in a different way. So like, for example, this person, they get better sleep. Then that person has a better diet. This one has a better wardrobe. And they're all looking down at each other like each one thinks they're more spiritual than the next one. This one doesn't even know to breathe through their nose.
Yes.
This one breathes through their mouth, but they eat good food. It's like there's so many layers, and you realize that the matrix has been affected on multiple dimensions. So now, as a Nuwapian, we take responsibility for all the dimensions, and we do our best in each thing at a time. So it's like, okay, I got my food under control. Now I'm going to be more mindful of what I'm putting on my body. All right, I got that
Mm-hmm.
under control. Now I'm going to be more mindful of the tones that I'm hearing. Okay, I got that under control. Now I'm going to be more mindful. It's like so many things you realize you're working through. And then also, where you fall on a spectrum. Because another thing Baba said, just because you're Nuwapian or Sabian, Baba said genetically everybody can't go back. Like, even though, okay, your grandfather's African, whatever the case is, that's why he said we should stop mixing, because some of us, our genetics won't let us go but so far on the planet. And nature
Mm-hmm.
wants to place everybody where they belong genetically. And so many things has happened to us. So, um, that's why we have we're supposed to be working on different places for our people throughout, because some of us will have to maybe spend a generation or two at this specific place. Because another thing Baba has said is that we may not want to admit it, but we also have to tie back into the vine. Remember him
Mm.
saying that? So it's like many different things, because we weren't all. A lot of us are the product of ill breeding, because he starts us saying Nuwapian, he calls us Nuwapians. And 57, he says, jewels of my eyes, 57, Nuwapians, know how the environment affects you. 58, be you Negroid and mixed, or Caucasoid and mixed. All right. So wherever it is that you are on a spectrum, where on this planet did nature grow you? All right. And where else grows? Where were you grown as a being? That's what I was looking for. I was looking for 60. So
Mm-hmm.
where did nature grow you? And then where did you grow as a being? Where have you been? All that has to take into consideration. And it's a journey, you know. And that's why Baba said right now we should be so mindful of who we're mixing with, because he said you could take your genetics back a few hundred years, by the decisions that decide, like who you mix with, or even what we're activating. So yeah.
But that last part right there is very important. You could take your genetics back a few hundred years, you know, and some people are really attracted to another, and some people are really attracted to each other, but their genetics just don't work together at
Hmm.
all. I had like what was it about like last week? I kept hearing seeing the name of a good friend of mine that I knew like way back in high school, and I was like, why is he coming up like after I ain't seen him in so long? But
Hmm.
then just 2 days ago, I ran into him at the gas station, and I was like, Caesar, 'cause he was Hispanic. I said, it's been over a decade since I seen you. And I was speaking some Spanish to him. I was like, hola, ¿cómo estás? He said, muy bien, too. So as I was speaking with him, and he started telling me, about the girl and his girlfriend, how they was together, was actually his fiance, and they really did love each other. They loved each other. They were together for over a decade, but they couldn't have any kids. He said no matter how hard they tried, he said there was a time where she did get pregnant 3 times, but then each time she had a miscarriage. So I had to ask him, I said, well, what is your blood type? He said, I think I'm negative. I said, what is hers? He said, I don't know. I said, because that's a big part. I said, because if your blood type's not working with hers, even though y'all are attracted to each other and y'all like each other and y'all seem to get along with each other, if y'all blood types just don't work together, then like, y'all just would never have any children. I said, and I'm sure that was very painful for her to have to go through that 3 times. He said, yeah, it was hard on me too. And so even though people might feel that they're attracted to it, like feelings alone is not enough to actually make a decision that is actually healthy. Because you also think about the future generation as well. So everything needs to be diagnosed before we actually make a decision in our lives, who we're with, who we're not with, and if you mate with the wrong person too, you can take your genetics backwards. You do poor breeding, then the child could come out deformed. There's a lot is actually needed to actually stop and take into consideration, and it's a thought. Just want to share that quick story right there.
Right, right.
Hmm.
Yeah. All right. Anything else that anybody takes from the scroll? Or does this scroll stimulate another scroll you may want to read? Somebody else. Does this make you think of any other scroll? All right. All right. So that's what I want us to think about. Then that'll be homework. Think about what scroll this can relate to. Put it in the chats. Read the scroll again. Um, you know, and think about how for us, helping each other, so it's like that's the purpose of us reading together. I love to read the scrolls to us, but also I like to see us caring about each other, and when we take time to explain the genetic explosion that may be going with you or stimulating, that's the whole purpose of us stimulating that divinity out of each other. So when I'm reaching out for people to participate, um, it's also for me to encourage you to also help each other, you know, that sometimes the way somebody else says something. So it's all valuable. So that's what I'm encouraging. However, don't feel like, if you really don't have anything to say, don't feel pressured. So so even in the chats, if there's something that can help your fellow family, share that in the chats, share it in their comments, and how you can make a difference in your own life and encourage each other as well. So that's why I'm also asking what everybody's thinking. All right. So does anybody have anything to say before we wrap up for today? All right, Jamal, Nanette, Reye, Nabab, you could close us out if you like.
Until talk with that. I'm,
Hmm.
I'm really thankful and appreciative that all of us actually coming together and taking time to read this and read the scrolls that Baba Yanu has written, which is the message from the universe, because you could be doing anything else. And we decided to take some time to come together and actually hear some more Jews that has been given to us. In addition to diagnosing, it will be actually a really healthy thing and people look into more blood types, especially Rh negative, because that's a blood type that's not even from this planet. And people look into that and do some digging on it, and that's really why this ties right into diagnosis of the races. Greatly appreciate everybody coming in here and even participating in your own way. Just showing up is also a form of participating too. I look forward to actually hearing more from people and Tawatem with the Kadir, who the Maltat and Noontat, for taking this time as well to read us this apartheid diagnosis of the races.
And with that being said, I
And with
should.
that being said, I shook. Go ahead, Zamaltak. Go ahead. Set the tone.
Yes, yes. All right. So I shook Mossad. I appreciate each and every one of us doing our very best to transform into the very best versions of ourselves. And well, I do. And our next reading will pick up on Wednesday. We'll pick up on Wednesday another scroll. So it depends on what we see in the chat. I shook
Absolutely.
Mossad. What I do.
I shook Moisar and Wadu.